So here we go. Welcome to another edition of the League One Lowdown. Today I'm joined by Colston Crawford, the man who covers all things Burton Albion. Colston, first of all, thanks very much for joining me. How you doing? How is the heat for yourself, and how's your pre-season been so far?
Hi, all's okay. I think they're over the worst of the heat from yesterday, but hopefully. But pre-season seems all right. Done okay against Nottingham Forest and okay against Birmingham City. Sheffield United to come. Reasonably promising so far.
It's good to hear. Well, let's recap then Burton Albion's season from last year. 16th in League One under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. How would you look back at last season? A nice mid-table finish. Do you think Burton fans will be disappointed at where they finished, or are they happy where they went?
I think they're more disappointed than they would have been because of the circumstances. The season before, they had what we all dubbed the Great Escape when Hasselbank came in and they were bottom of the table and he got them to safety. So because of that, they went into last season with the expectations through the roof, quite unreasonably, I think. But nonetheless, that's the nature of things, and the expectations were there. Then they won the first three games, including beating Ipswich, beating Sunderland, and expectations just ramped up another level, So, and everybody's thinking, wow, Hasselbank is a genius, etc., etc. And then we went to Cambridge and got beat 3-0 with two own goals, and reality set in. We weren't actually that good. The Ipswich and Sunderland games could have gone either way, and of course, then from that start, it was a slide to finish 16th, really, and some fairly dull football at times. He had a lot of injuries to contend with, in fairness to him. Brought a lot of players in to cover those injuries. Then, of course, people got recovered, and he's got this. What he admits it was too big a squad, too many players not playing, and you're probably still looking for his best 11 when the season finished. So there was people getting disgruntled by the end.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, no players want to be sitting on the bench or not even in the 18.
Yeah, but I mean, the fans were getting disgruntled by the end.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. What is the current mood then with Burton Albion fans? Another season League One beckons under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, which is good. Probably another good thing that you've got Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank still in charge. Transfer business. What's the transfer business been so far? Some ins, some outs, some loans coming in as well. Loans expiring as always. What's it been like so far?
Yeah, well, at least the mood won't be. The expectation won't be there this time. Nobody's saying, right, let's storm this league this time. I think that what most fans would like to see, they'd be quite happy if it was mid-table again, probably a bit higher than 16th. But more than anything else, they'd like to see them the team playing more attractive football than they did last season. The intention is there. Passing the ball properly in pre-season, and but Hasselbank's stock is not as high as it was because of what happened last season, and then the fact that he's talked to Barnsley in the summer. Nobody's very thrilled that Barnsley made public who they were talking to, but there were several weeks past when it was, will he, won't he be going to Barnsley? And that's not gone down well with parts of the fan base, the fact that they're not reasonable about the fact that he did speak to them, and but he's come out and said, well, look, all I did was speak to them. It doesn't mean I was, I looked at I listened to them and listened to what they had to offer, and I didn't go, which to me is reasonable because we all know how fragile a job is anyway in football, but he's got to win the fans over and again now, after a relatively dull season and the Barnsley situation. But the progress that's been made in pre-season with signings now has begun to get people's enthusiasm raised again. And perhaps the big one yesterday was Joe Powell, everyone's favourite midfielder here, who's been here for a couple of years. He was out of contract in the summer. It didn't look like he was going to stay. Yesterday, he turned up at the stadium and signed his contract. And that's given the fans a real boost. Really happy to see Joe stay. Other than that, they're suck it and see signings in a way. We've brought in Victor Adeboyejo from Barnsley, who hasn't scored many goals in his career, but Hasselbank thinks he can turn him around. We brought back Callum Butcher, who was in the League One promotion team of 2015-16. He's come back from Dundee United. Hasselbank signed him the first time, so he's been signed twice. He's a defensive midfielder. And the other permanent signing is Davis Keeler-Dunn, who was scored a good lot of 17 goals from midfield for Oldham Athletic last season in a struggling side. Davis is a top lad, and people are expecting a lot from him.
Yeah, a lot of goals. A lot of goals. Right, and of course, as Oldham had their financial problems and, of course, got relegated. But, a standout player. Yeah.
And there's 2 loans come in so far. Usually loans a goalkeeper. And in this case, we've loaned a guy called Viljami Sinisalo from Aston Villa, who's been likened to Jordan Pickford in terms of his style and distribution. I've certainly seen already that he kicks it like flat, like Pickford does, flat and long, and straight into the crowd on the one occasion he's done it so far. But there you go. And a guy called Quevin Castro from West Bromwich Albion. He's a 6'4" winger, which has a real physique about him. Reminds us of Lucas Akins, who was here for many years, as you know. And we're expecting great things of him. But again, there's an element of the unknown about some of these. So
I can imagine. I can imagine. Sometimes there's some players you probably don't know of, and you just it's an unknown. You just say suck it and see, and if they do well, then perfect. Some of them are just free agents, and just you hope they do well. If they don't, and they'll be out the door probably sooner rather than later.
I think some loans can transform a season, and some loans can just fall flat. You look at not last season, but season before, when Lincoln reached the playoffs, they had Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest. And he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and he'll be a regular in Forest's side in the Premier League this season. And as much as anything else, he was part. They had some very good loans that season, and they got to the playoffs. All of those loans, the loans they had last season, they ended up fighting relegation for a chunk of the season. It's just how it goes.
It does, and that segues nicely, Colston, onto your thoughts for this season. Then, what do you reckon?
As I said, if we're mid-table again, or just a bit above mid-table, and play attractive football, I think the fans will be satisfied with that. I don't think the expectations are there for a promotion push, but we were talking about this only the other day. There's always a surprise in the division in terms of somebody who flops and somebody who does well. I predicted Plymouth as a dark horse last season, and they nearly made the playoffs. But nobody else was predicting. Very few people were predicting Plymouth to do well at this stage last season. It might be us. It might not. There's even more financial competition now. It seems like it ramps up every single year. You've got Derby now. Yes, they've got a budget set by the EFL, but that budget is set higher than most League One clubs' budgets, I swear. And you've seen the level of players that Derby are bringing in. Yourselves, you're spending money again. Marcus Harness is an interesting one. We still like Marcus in Burton because he's a local lad. But it's always going to be tough for a club of Burton's size to compete. We just like to compete in an attractive sort of way. That's what the fans want.
Definitely. And last season, you beat us at Burton Stadium at the Prelly, and then of course down at Portman Road we won 3-0. Let's talk about the head-to-heads then, Colston. Tuesday night, 16th of August, Town head to Burton, and then of course Burton and travel back basically in March next year at Portman Road. What do you reckon we can expect from those two games? Very early doors, of course, but 2 different times of the year.
Well,
Early doors against Burton.
I think early doors is always an interesting one because I think you've probably got a better chance early doors against clubs. I mean, Ipswich are absolutely, unequivocally Burton Albion's bogey side. They when we won last season, that's the first time we'd beaten. I think it was nine goes. That was the first win against Ipswich, and it could have gone either way because Scott Fraser missed a penalty before we scored one, and so we went to Ipswich, Portman Road, lost 3-0. That was much more like we expect against Ipswich, because Ipswich can play terribly and thrash us. We've seen it several times. We just one of those things. Never get anything out of Ipswich. So anything we do get out of Ipswich will be a bonus.
Yes, definitely. And at the Pirelli as well. Normally it's a closer game at the Pirelli. Normally at Portman Road, it's been a lot of goals from town, but not playing well, but still getting the win. But at the Pirelli,
Yes.
And it's on a Tuesday night, it will be very interesting under the lights at the Pirelli.
Yeah.
Colston, thanks for joining me, first of all. But any
That's
other
right.
business you want to add? Anything else you want to add about Burton Albion?
No. I think that pretty much covers it. We continue to punch above our weight just by being in League One. So, and that's what we are.
Brilliant. Well, bring it on. Burton Albion Town, 16th of August on a Tuesday night. We shall see you there. Once again, Colston, thanks for joining me.
Okay. Thanks. Cheers.